Venkatadri samam sthanam brahmande nasti kinchana Venkatesho samo devo na bhuto na bhavishyati. Shri Venkateshaya Namaha. With the benign blessings of Sri Sri Vidyaranya Pitha Swamiji and the blessings of my Guruji, Sri Sadguru Shivananda Murthy Garu, respected dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor and privilege to be here today. I am standing in front of all of you for what my ancestors did 500 years ago. A nation's greatness is not measured by its riches or its military power alone, but by its character. An age-old culture that is still living is characteristic of India. India is alive if its culture is alive. Family system is the fulcrum of that culture. Therefore, if parents at home do not practice values, we cannot expect our children to imbibe them, and we cannot expect our country to be strong and progressive. Sadly, Indian history was not written by Indians. The Europeans and the British in particular handed down a concocted version specially designed to justify their imperialistic colonization mindset. Thus entered the Aryan invasion theory. The tragedy is it has been subsequently disproved to such an extent that even its propounders have quietly given it up, but it still exists in our textbooks. Our primary duty, therefore, is to have a sense of history, without which a sense of belonging to this great nation cannot be roused, without which we cannot conquer our enemies, particularly the more vicious inner enemies. Of course, any attempt in this direction will face a very violent resistance. We have no choice but to overcome it by rising as a collective force. Indian history is not a book of tales of few kings who lived and died. It contains the records of men and women of incredible prowess, valor, and character. It is a chronicle of deeds of men who became superhuman through their penance. It is a compilation of scientific truths that sing about the secrets of creation. And most important, it throbs with messages that help us graduate from a mundane existence to a lively life. The foundation of Vijayanagar Empire was an epoch-making event in the history of Bharata. It held sway over large parts of southern Bharat from coast to coast, covering present-day Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Goa, Kerala, and Orissa. It was founded at a time when everything that a Hindu loved and venerated was on the verge of total annihilation. It represented the Hindu cause, fought for it, and contributed to a rich religious and cultural legacy. Sri Krishnadevaraya of the Tuluva dynasty was the greatest ruler of the empire. Vijayanagar reached its zenith under his rule. Sri Krishnadevaraya ranks as a mighty emperor along with Ashoka, Samudragupta, and Harshavardhana. His rule marked the grand period in the development of the empire and the successful achievements of the objects for which it was actually founded. The success was due to many reforms that Sri Krishnadevaraya brought in the administration of the empire. He was a formidable warrior, a great general, and a brilliant military strategist. He ascended the throne at a very critical juncture in the history of Vijayanagar. He had to wage wars immediately after ascending the throne. In his 21 years of rule, he had to conduct campaigns and wars continuously for a lengthy period of 11 years. The empire was founded to protect the Hindu Dharma. The underlying principle in protecting was not only Hindu religion, but also to protect all sects, faith, and to provide freedom of religious worship, which is the essence of Hinduism. The Vijayanagar kings, right from the foundation of the empire, pursued this noble policy. All sects, religions flourished during this period. The brief insight in the history of Vijayanagara Empire just given by me is not something new. You all are very well aware of it. Why is Sri Krishnadevaraya's period considered the golden period in the Vijayanagar history? What is it that we have to understand and learn from it? In the present scenario of politics and people in power, we need leaders like Sri Krishnadevara. When in power, our present leaders should understand the grassroots problems of the people and come out with policies in achieving their welfare. Poverty existed even then, but people did not starve. Sri Krishnadevaraya was an able administrator. He personally supervised his military expeditions and centralized the army. Today, people in power should look into the safety and security of its citizens. Technology is so advanced, then why are there so many lapses? Because there is no coordination and centralization of power of supervision. The authority which has been delegated the responsibility of safety has to deliver. At the same time, all the citizens should cooperate and should be unified in their thoughts first and duties followed. Such was the safety and security in Sri Krishnadevaraya's period that it is said people used to cover the precious stones and diamonds with just a cloth when they went back home after their daily business. Today, we Indians do not react even when our house is on fire. We do not move unless our very skin burns. The chase for money of proportions we have never heard of before is the result of aping the West madly instead of picking and adopting from the West aspects that are suitable for us. These factors have together diluted one of our greatest values called citizenship. We do not come together at all. We do not think collectively or act as a group or face the consequences as one family. Keeping this in view, we must look at our current achievements and compare them with the achievements of the past. In the past, material life was given its due place and not considered as the goal of life. The improvement or the development of the quality of man was given paramount importance. Citizenship was insisted upon as everyone's duty. In short, the goal was clear and everyone worked towards that. Today's achievements have increased the physical comfort of man but weakened his inner qualities. The most significant features of Indian values is their universality. The Vedas are resounding with their concern not only for the human at large but the entire cosmic family. India contains solutions to the problems that constrict the soul of the humanity today. Therefore, we have to take it up for the sake of India and for the good of the world. Let me propose a three-pointed formula based on the opening remarks of my Guru Garu. Educate yourself, awaken Indians, enlighten the world. When we educate ourselves, thus we are awakened, then we can awaken our countrymen. If we stand inspired, we shall inspire others. It is by understanding the greatness of Indianness and practicing it that we can awaken the spirit of Bharatiyata in our countrymen. We must have pride in our heritage. We must feel fortunate to be the children of Bharat Mata. This pride should arise from a clear understanding of our culture and heritage. From the icy slopes of the Himalayas to the tapering tip of Kanyakumari, from the jungles inhabited by tribals to the big cities, from the mansions to the humble abode, it is one culture, one family that is expressing itself through many. This underlying unity that sustains the surface diversity is the beauty of India. Today, we stand bereft of this knowledge as we have allowed ourselves to be swept away by the utterly materialistic design of the West. We have all the facilities, but we have become weak. We have tons of money, but we do not have peace. We come from a very highly sophisticated lineage, but we have no knowledge of it. Without this knowledge, we cannot call ourselves educated. It was there, it existed, and we only have to get it back. Today will be history tomorrow. We as citizens should feel our responsibility towards our nation. Now, let me share a few thoughts and experiences of my life. I have seen from my childhood, our family has always had spiritual guidance, be it Kanchi Paramacharya or Tiruchi Mahaswamiji or my Guru Garu, Shivananda Murthy Garu. The very first time I saw my Guruji was in 1998. He had come to Hampi and he was staying in a hotel. So I went, along with my father, we went to have his darshan. I clearly remember seeing him. But after that, he came to our house and he visited Anagundi. I don't remember anything about that. The next time I saw him was in 2001. In June, he had invited our family and honored my father. That is when I got to know a bit about Guru Garu. So that same year, in November 2001, when I had gone to Delhi, I got to know that Guruji had come to Delhi. So I thought I'll go and have his darshan. When I went to have the darshan, Guruji was doing his puja, and I was just sitting and thinking about my future. I had started an office automation business with a friend of mine, with my partner, and he had recently died in an accident. So I was just thinking what to do. Should I continue this business? And I have one elder sister who lives in America. She was telling me to come to America and work there. So I was just contemplating all this. Should I stay back or should I go to US? So after the puja, Guruji gave me the prasadam and he said, you will go to America, but when I ask you to come back, come back. So this is something which struck me. I was really surprised. How did he know? I didn't ask him anything. I didn't tell him anything. There are spiritual souls, there are learned men, and they are there to guide you. It is just that we have to surrender. So when he told me this, I said that I should follow what he says. So I got an opportunity to go to America. I went and I was there for almost 6.5 years. So what I noticed over there was America does not have a history of more than 250 years, the modern history. But they are very proud of what they have. They preserve it. They document it properly. So that thing stuck to me. I said, when I go back and when I do get a chance, I have to preserve my history. So I came back after the demise of my father, and that is when I started working on this. Of course, the construction work that I have done, it's pretty long, so I would request all of you, come down to Anagundi, come see Hampi, come and see my house. I will explain how I started, how I did it. I started thinking that it is a 2-year project, but it ended up being a 5-year project. So I'll ask all of you to please come to Anagundi and see Hampi and Anagundi. One more incident that I would like to, that comes to my mind is the conversation I had with the Sandur Her Highness, Shri M.Y. Ghorpade's mother, where she mentioned to me how important it is to stay connected to your roots. Personally, had I settled in the US, life for me would have been good. But I came back after the demise of my father and continued all the traditions which my family has been following since centuries. It brought a sense of responsibility in me, coming from this great lineage, that I had to follow the rituals and traditions of my ancestors. Now, before I conclude, I remember the following words of my Guruji. Let's remember our remote past. Let's remember our great ancestors, the Maharshis. Let's imbibe the great values for which they stood, inculcate them, and live in their path to make our nation the greatest place again. Let Dharma prevail in all. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful function and wish you all a very happy Dasara. Jai Virupaksha.